Good afternoon, collectors and friends. Welcome to Trading Card Therapy, episode number 122. We just want to give a special shout out to the Knicks after game one. What an incredible effort. We'll see if they can pull it out. It's going to be a fun NBA Finals. This episode of Trading Card Therapy is sponsored by Auction Wire. Auction Wire is the best place to search for all of your cards that you love and adore or you want to invest in as far as sports cards and now Pokemon cards. They're all going to be found in one place at auctionwire.ai, where including my friend Derek from Heritage Auctions, Heritage is on there, as well as some other wonderful auction houses. So check out auctionwire.ai, and if you haven't yet, you can do so with the code FRIEND45 and get a free 45-day trial. Without further ado, I'm going to add my friend Derek Grady from Heritage Auctions. We're going to talk all about the state of the hobby today. How are you today, Derek?
I'm doing good, man. How about that? I'm rooting for the Knicks just because I have so many friends in the New York area. The Knicks fans. So it's been a long time. So I'm sure that was good. It was a really nice comeback.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fun series, and certainly for guys like my father and others that have been Knicks fans for decades. And by the way, my dad's also a Jets fan, so I mean that's just a really nasty combo. And my dad infected me with that. I'm also a Jet fan, which is even worse.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I agree with you. So go Knicks, right? Would you go to any games, or the tickets too crazy for you?
So I'm going to try on Monday when I don't have Crosby. So I'm going to try, this is my idea. I'm going to go into the city. I'm going to have all of my like StubHub / SeatGeek, all those apps updated. And I'm going to wait until about 7 minutes into the game to see if there's any tickets available. That's my only chance because I live close enough, right? Where I'm just making it up. If someone drops a $1,500 ticket to $600, for $600, I'm going to go. For thousands of dollars, I don't
think you're getting in under four figures. I think it's going to be $1,500.
And listen, at $1,000, I would go myself. But at thousands of dollars, I just can't. do it.
It's hard to justify when you can watch it in a bar or
and have a good time. There's lots of great places to watch, but certainly the MSG is the mecca. So we'll see what happens.
Right?
It's fantastic. It's great for the hobby. The Knicks are certainly a very popular team, but haven't been relevant in quite some time. So if you've been sleeping under a rock today, we're going to help you, Derek and I, with what we're calling the state of the hobby. And we'd like to start with the big news coming out of California, and that's in regards to PSA has, I don't know how else to say it. They've shut down. They've suspended effectively all of their services. Forget about the names. At $80, I believe, and below, you cannot submit a card right now.
I thought it was $60, but I thought it was Express 60.
I thought it's $79, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Value and below. So basically anything that was 25, 35, 40, it's all gone right now. I've heard that maybe after the national, at the national, they're going to be. So they just think about how many people were up all night typing in invoices the last day. I know my guys were.
Oh, we definitely were. Yeah.
Okay, you guys were.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So everybody, it's no secret. The website was crashing. Okay. So they've gotten so many cards. Like, how are they going to get those 10 million cards or whatever the heck they just got this week, on Monday and Sunday and Monday through the weekend, right? But then to think that at the national, they're gonna, you catch up, but then you're just gonna get blasted at the national, right? Graders are the best graders are out of the office. I mean, it's an interesting one. I don't know when the value, you have a Will Clark rookie that's 25 cents, right? 87 tops or whatever they cost, and you want to spend $20 to get it graded. At 60 at PSA, I don't in the foreseeable future. So I don't know when they would open it back up because I think they're so inundated. I don't know how you get out of that jam. But they also own now SGC and Beckett, which are the next most likely to where you'd send your cards that are below you wanting to pay $60 to $80 for. What happens when they get backed up?
I think it's a great point, Derek. And before we get into it further, let's take a moment to try to help collectors, because I know yesterday we just sent in an SGC bulk package.
Mhm.
That was after we sent in as much as we could to PSA before they effectively shut it off. And what I've been telling people on my team is to help people in our community, meaning people who come into the shop, Derek,
Yeah.
people from the breaking community that we run, stuff that we do and whatnot. Like, we want to help the community at large.
Absolutely.
Guys, please do me a favor. Don't wait. Beckett and SGC are going to be inundated logically for their value services. And I can't guarantee it, neither can Derek, but we're guessing that our guts are right, and they're likely going to also shut down at some point sooner rather than later. So if you'd like to get your cards in, there are certainly viable grading companies. Whether it be you normally graded with them or not is at this point immaterial. But I do believe at some point, Derek, and I'm curious if you agree, do you believe people should, if they're interested, get in their cards with Beckett and SGC now?
If you have cards you want to get graded that are just sitting there and it's only taking you to do an online submission, do the online submission and get them in, because likely you don't go from paying $20 to $60, okay, on cards that just aren't worth paying that, and you're not guaranteed the grade that you think you're going to get anyway. Okay, grading's been a little bit
That's
harsher
for sure.
over the past couple of years. I mean, that's demonstrably proven. I think we could prove that at any time anybody wants to challenge us on that. That being said, if you have cards you want to get in, I would get them in ASAP to either SGC or Beckett. If that's your grading companies of choice, there's obviously other options. I have not submitted a lot to CGC. I know they're a reputable company. They're out there. They stand to gain from this, other than look, there's that PSA Collectors Universe now encompasses SGC and Beckett, right? So PSA is still getting that money. The Collectors Universe are still getting that money at SGC and Beckett. And they clearly have a proven track record on VCP, Beckett with modern, SGC with vintage, especially, of those are the go-tos, right? If PSA is the gold standard, nobody's going to question that overall. You'd rather have every card in a PSA holder then there's some outliers, right? But in our history in the hobby, Leighton, PSA has always been the gold standard. And that's me. And I was the SGC head grader, and I'm sitting here twice, 2 different times. And I'm sitting here saying that PSA is the gold standard. That's what collectors would prefer to have their cards in. And, Beckett flirted with that in the modern there for a little bit. You remember that when Beckett cards were actually selling more than PSA 10s?
Very much so. There was a window, but it goes to show you that the pendulum can swing. But to reiterate what you just said, gang, get your cards in. Don't wait.
If those are your services you want to use.
If those are your services, don't wait. But I did want to touch upon CGC and then also give a shout out to Mike Baker and MBA, because they're no longer just doing stickers, but they're actually grading cards as well. And so I've not graded any cards with Mike, but I've submitted cards for stickers. And I've actually not graded any cards with CGC, but as you just suggested, they're certainly well-backed and they're respected. And so I don't know what the future holds for us and our, let's say, grading adventures. What is Heritage going to do for its clients where you're grading its cards?
So we talk about these things all the time, right? And I find in sets, it matters less. Our set prices have been going crazy because I think we do the best job of all the auction companies. We have professional graders that work here. All those raw cards are graded by professional graders, okay, for the most part, or people under us. So our set prices have been great. But to answer your question, a great question, I have chosen, because we can grade, I've written some sets where I normally would have graded some cards, like 71 Peachy. I'll give you a great example. 71 Peachy baseball.
Super tough.
Super tough. There were legit 8s in that set, probably some 8.5s.
Ooh.
I think I graded the set 20% near mint to mint. I put it in the showcase auction. I estimated it at $4,000, and I knew it would go for more, but it went for like 23,000 with not a graded card. So I could have tied that up for 3 months or 6 months, waiting to get back cards from PSA. And maybe they didn't see the card, depending on the grader that gets it. If they don't call them near mint to mint, okay, or they call them 6s and 7s when they're, who knows what I'm going to get, right? So I called it raw. I graded it raw, and the thing went for $23,000. Did I need to invest $600 in grading and wait 6 months Would that have helped it any? Could it have gone for more? I don't think so. That was a crazy number.
I'd
Completely
say
crazy.
the only way, we've known each other a long time, the only way I could see that going for more is if you somehow could have got 10s on Hall of Famers.
10s or
which,
some
to be
9s.
clear, you probably have a better chance of getting struck by lightning going home tonight and coming back
100%.
tomorrow to the office.
I don't think I'm pulling a 10 on a 71 OPG anytime soon.
Probably not.
But either way, we've been running more stuff raw that are high grade, and we stand behind what we do. You're not gonna, we don't agree with every grade we get from a grading company, and I don't expect that anybody's gonna agree with every card we grade at Heritage. But if I think it's a 7, I'm gonna call it near min. If I think it's, whatever I think it's gonna be, we try and err. I will tell you this: I've noticed that we've gotten tighter. PSA has gotten tighter. SGC has gotten tighter. I don't do enough with Beckett. That's modern. Okay. So I've noticed they've gotten tighter. Nobody wants to admit it, but clearly let's all agree on one thing. Centering has tightened up. Okay. Centering is 100% tightened up. Okay. So I realize now that I've gotten in our write-up, because I'm used to getting this back from PSA and SGC every day. You get cards back. And you're like, oh, wow. Thought that was, if we've been doing that the last couple of years, thinking, oh, that's lower than I thought. Oh, that's lower than I thought. I think when we're writing sets, we're doing the same thing. But it does make it easier, Leighton, I think, and maybe in your business too. Maybe you've tightened up on what you're sending in, because these cards aren't now that it's a little bit tighter, you have to be careful. If the card's not centered, you're gonna have 4 razor sharp corners pack pulled. It's not centered. I don't know if they're pulling out the peak anymore and saying this can still 7, or they're just saying, oh, that's off center 5, 6, right?
Depending on what grader you get, you never know.
Yeah.
But also, let's keep this in mind for the audience who maybe is just newish to the community. When we used to make a mistake, Derek, let's say you were submitting a card on behalf of a client at Heritage for a set, and let's say you got back a 5, random common, you're like, oh, it's a bummer, but it cost $10, and you got it back in a couple months. So you're like, all right, not a big deal. Now it takes longer, and it costs much more. Much more. So you are astute to point out that we're getting tighter, and so are you, it sounds like.
Yeah, and we don't know, but I want to try and be fair too, because I don't think grading standards need to change. I feel like things evolve over time. I think with coins, with comics, everything gets a little bit better, more scientific. AI can help with centering. You can measure centering, but I still think a card, when 2 to 1 was a standard for an 8. Now, clearly it's not 2 to 1 anymore.
Do you remember those days? Yeah,
I do. But here's the thing. You can still find those cards every day all over the place. Okay. They're still out there. We take in cards all the time that if you crack them out, they're not going to get the same grade. That's okay. That's okay. Grading. And again, that goes for me too. There's cards I graded at SGC when I was a grader that I would not grade the same grade today. They'd be lower. There's probably also some cards I was tight on. We're human. Okay. I'm not here to throw stones, because Leighton, if you have 100 graders, how can you get everybody on the same page? It's hard for me to keep 5 people on the same page. How do you get 100 people on the same page? Of course.
I do have a tough question for you. I think it's a tough question, and I want to provide some interesting, I guess, thought-provoking content for the folks that are checking this out, not just today, but in the future when they're checking out on our YouTube channel or Apple or Spotify. So what do you tell someone who's a collector, but also he's an investor, right? He's someone who has, whether it be thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions, and they bring you their cards, and they're saying to you, Derek, these are some of the cards I'm keeping, bud, and I'm going to consign you some cards today, and these I'm going to sell no matter what. But can you do me a favor? Can you check out some of these Gaudis, right? Some of these 50s and 60s Manels, and you're looking at it, and the gentleman says to you, Derek, could you give me your honest opinion? Do you think the cards are overgraded? I'm sure you've been presented this situation before. How do you handle it when someone comes to you and they're really excited about what they own, but they are really curious about getting an expert's opinion like yourself? And let's be clear, right? I know you got a big head, but you are an expert. And exactly. But in all joking aside,
I'm going to be candid. The one thing I am is candid, and I'm going to tell you how I feel. I don't believe in lying or BSing. I'm in this for the long haul with relationships with collectors. So, and by the way, too, with women, if you ask me, do you look fat in these jeans? Don't ask me, because I'm going to say you look fat in those jeans. Okay. You just don't ask me. If you tell me, hey, Derek,
we're going to go out for a night in the town of the city soon. We'll have a good time, I'm sure.
Yeah, we have to go. Yeah. Okay. So, I'm just going to be candid and honest. But there is so to answer your question, yes, I've been asked that hundreds of times. Should I replace this? I think it's overgraded. I'll be honest and say, so how I sum it up is, would it grade this today? No. Whether it's centering, whether there's a little bit more wear on the corner, no matter what it is, I try it. But again, are you happy with the card? Do you like the card? Here's what it's going to cost you today to replace this, right? And we also know that cards that are nicer, and you see that with the NBA stickers. Cards with great eye appeal sell for more anyway. NBA is taking that to a new level with their stickers, right? These go again. You can look at the numbers. We've ran the numbers. There's nice cards that are centered that do great, and then there's cards that are nice that are centered with a gold sticker on it that even do better, okay, or a silver sticker. So Mike's found his lane with the stickers for sure. They've just proven results on that. Sometimes if you have a card that's demonstrably overgraded because it was graded in 98 or 99 or something, those cards can bring less. I'm not noticing a heck of a lot of cards bringing too much less than VCP. It would have to be really OC, right? The market's so hot. You throw a 56 Mano PSA 9 out there. I've seen some 56 PSA 9 Manos that I think are 10s or 9.5s, and there's some that are more sliders, right? And before keep in mind, they didn't always have a half grade. So the PSA graders had to determine when they saw a killer card, is this an 8 or a 9? That's a big gap.
Difference. Yeah, of course.
That's a big gap. That's hard.
Great
At
point,
SGC, I always had a 90. I had an 8.5, a 92
for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I always had that. And dealers didn't like it because they thought PSA would always go 8.5, but they don't. Sometimes they went 9. And that's where dealers make money too. They want the 9s. They hated just the 8s and the 9s, right? So the 8.5 came out. I think it's a great grade. I think it should be there. I love half grades. But yeah, there's people that have asked me, go through it. I want you to be honest. I can take it. Would you upgrade these? I'd say don't sell your other ones first. Find the upgrade first. And of course, we'll take this on consignment. Okay. Because again, anybody that's looking, okay, can look at cards and say, wait a second. This one looks like a 10. This one looks like a 5. They're both in 8s. How does that work? And again, they're probably not that extreme, but you know what I'm saying. There's so many cards that come in that, yes, because standards have changed, it's different now. But yeah, I've had to tell people, and to be honest, there's people that buy the labels. I tell people, when the new person's coming in, if you're looking at returns based on what's the hottest, VCP card ladder, what cards go for the most money, it's PSA. PSA is the gold standard. But the one thing I get that's even more difficult though, or as difficult, is when people buy PSA. I'm sorry. They want PSA numbers for an SGC or a Beckett card or a CGC or a Baker card. And it's like, you can't do that. If you buy SGC, when the market goes up and you sell SGC, you're going to make money. When you buy PSA and the market goes up, you're going to make money. But like a Michael Jordan rookie, if PSA's 300 grand, whatever they are now, okay, PSA's 300 grand, and SGC's 200 grand or 150, okay, and Beckett's 80 grand, okay, don't ask me, well, why won't PSA cross over my Beckett 9.5? Or why won't PSA cross over my SGC 10? They see cards different ways, okay? If you want a PSA Jordan, buy a PSA Jordan. You're going to have to pay 300 grand for it. Don't think that you're the smartest guy in the room that like, oh my God, why isn't anybody else buying these Beckett 9.5s? I should just buy all these Beckett 9.5s. Look, PSA 10s suffer 300. I'm just going to buy Beckett 9.5s at 80 grand. I'm going to make a ton of money when they cross them over. And then they get
just that easy.
And they get annoyed that PSA won't cross them over. And I'm like, guys, just buy PSA if you want PSA. Buy SGC if you want an SGC. The good news is, no matter what grading company you're loyal to or you bought from, the market's up so much, right? Like everything's gone up. But if you want rocket ship numbers, odds are it's PSA, right? It's and that's okay. I was going to say too, just to touch back on CGC and Baker. I don't know. I'm sure both companies are busy. I talked to Mike in White Plains. The business is doing well. They're now slabbing cards. There's not enough data out there. They've showed us small amounts of data, like, well, here's what some of our cards have gone for on T206s or Gaudis or 52 Mano, and again, they're in line. And CGC, I'm sure, is in line. I know they do a lot of trading card games and stuff, and Pokemon. I don't know that stuff. I don't do that stuff. Thank God we have a separate trading card department with Pokemon, with Jesus, because I I don't know that stuff. When we were putting in the sports auction, I was like, do not ask me. I mean, yeah, I can grade a round card for the most part, and I'm pretty good at not counterfeits on Charizard and some of them, but this new stuff, I have no idea. Go to the TCG department. But yeah, being honest with people isn't always, look, I do the same thing with bats or game used jerseys. If I ask Hefner or Tobby, what do you think of this? They might tell me it's not that nice. You should sell it. You should replace it. I want people to be honest with me. I think that's the best policy as you're building a collection too, and trust an expert that will tell you the truth. There are people too that will call me, and it could be you, for a matter of fact. Heritage has an auction going on, and you say, hey, is this nice enough for me? I'll be honest. Would I buy it in this grade? No. It goes for any grading company, not just PSA. It could be SGC, it could be Beckett. No, I wouldn't grade this grade. And I'm honest with people. The last thing I'm going to do is lie to a client. There are other companies that will tell you every card's high end. Buy everything. Everything's great. Okay. I'm not that guy. I want long-term relationships, and Heritage, they want the same thing too. There's 52 manos and 8s that are really, really nice, and there's some that aren't so nice. And that's okay. And you're going to see the difference on VCP, or card ladder. You're going to see the different sales. So, but to answer your question, that happens all the time to me, and I'm brutally honest with people.
Good. Well, I'm happy to hear that. We have to deal with it, I think, in two distinct ways. So when people sell us cards, we do get a fair amount of old label. And I think you alluded to it. The market is so strong right now, for the most part, we can value it pretty easily, but we do value it a little bit less, because I know when it comes to me to sell the card, and this is what I wanted to cover also, just the way you're transparent. I mean, Derek, I have people spending money with me, like they want to buy $20,000 of quality vintage cards a month, and they're not selling them. They might sell them in 20 years. They might never sell them in their lifetime and give them to their family. But the point is that I know that I need to explain to them that this 1949 Bowman Jackie Robinson is a little bit cheaper in a 6 than this one, because remember, Derek, they're not as nuanced as you and I are. They're not experts.
Correct.
And so I try to explain to them the differences. And so some of them are maybe like the people who just buy the slabs. They're like, oh, I don't care. It's a 6. And I said, I just wanted you to know, because my reputation's everything. Yeah. And I'm really good at this. I just want you to understand that the reason why this Jackie's a little bit cheaper is because it doesn't look as nice. And then there's other people who are like, wow, Leighton, I really appreciate that you pointed this out. I would have never thought about it. I'd like to buy the slightly more expensive version because I just want to have a slightly better card. And you don't have to be a card expert to understand those basics, but you are right. I've come across this as well. Someone will have an SGC 8 and they're like, yeah, but the PSA 8 sold for this. And I said, I don't know what one has to do with the other.
Yeah.
Like it's apples and oranges.
It's apples and oranges.
It's a different grading company. And I know why it might be hard to hear that, but the sooner you understand this as a collector, as an investor, or someone who's just dipping your toe in the space for the first time, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you back on the show, is because we just want to tell it the way it is and make sure that people who are out there who are gearing up for the National in just a couple months are going to be as well prepared as possible. Because make no mistake, things on the floor of the National this year, if you thought it was crazy last year, things are going to be happening like this, Derek.
Yeah. And the prices are going to be, I'm listening to people now telling me they're saving their cards for the people that regularly consign every auction. I'm saving my cards because I'm going to mark them up at the National another 20%. And whether it's trade them or do deals, make them happen, it's going to happen. Because the National, I mean, I don't remember there being, again, I'm not really buying cards on the floor. I'm swamped at the Heritage booth. But it's what I've been told was the prices at the National, like, how are you buying anything? Now, speculating you can, or if you're a collector buying, if you're buying for your collection, again. But I think there's certain, I think there's some people at the top of grading companies that don't love hearing that there's a change in, not that standards have changed. It has, and you are not going to buy a 6 on a card or a 7 on a card that's a slider for the same amount of money. You're going to buy one that's a shining star that looks like it's an upgrade, and you're going to price them differently. And that's okay. They do it in coins. They do it in comics. Things that have better eye appeal go for more money. That doesn't mean they have to be a lower grade. That's what I try and tell people as a grader. If I was running a grading room again, a 6 can still be just a 6. If it's a high-end 6, it's a high-end 6. That doesn't make it a 7, and it doesn't have to lower this one to a 5. Okay. It could still be a 6. One can be off centered, one can be dead centered. Okay. And the centered one can bring more money. That's okay. Okay. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be every card has to be dead centered to be the grade, right? You can have, and again, I don't know where the centering
Totally.
is on a 9 now. I guess has to be 50-50 or damn near, I feel like, I'm good with 60-40 for a 9. Okay. A 10, sure. I think they were 55-45 at one point. Now it seems like it has to be 50-50. Okay. Whatever it is. But those should bring premiums. If a card's that dialed in, and there's cards that aren't, again, I have no issue with different prices within the grade. I try and tell people there's grades within the grade. Okay.
Oh, very much so.
And there's certain times if I was collecting a set, I'd buy the card based on I just want to get that number. I just want to get that number, a 6 or 7 or an 8, whatever. And then there's times for certain players, I definitely want to have really nice ones.
Yeah.
So, but I understand as a dealer's buying, I have people tell me that all the time. Did the number start with a 00 or it's a 000 PSA code or serial number, or is it a freshly graded one? And when you get, and it's like, there's a lot more questions. There's a lot more people learning and looking at their cards and want to make sure when they're paying a lot of money for something, they're buying something that was more recently graded. I get it. And if you're paying up for it and you're not, you're going to have to pay up for it. The newer labels cost more money. They just do.
Yeah, and I think that for those who have a lot of experience out there, you can still get a deal by being savvy. And I know, for example, this is more modern, but like I collect Kobe a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a really nice 96 Kobe, the EX 2000 rookie, a PSA 9 at Philly last time. I bought it for myself. Like to have it in my collection for a long time. Maybe God willing, give it to my son one day. PSA 9 is really hard of that card. Yeah. And I also know that the PSA 10 is going to cost way more than I would want to spend. So this is perfect for me. The only bummer was it was an old label. So Derek, what I did was I negotiated what I thought was a fair price, and it was old label, and I got a price that was according, fair for that. And then I had to wait, but I sent it to PSA to be reholdered. Mm-hmm. And it now looks a lot better. It has the same serial number, to be clear.
Sure.
But it does look a lot better. And the security is a little bit stronger on the newer label holders from PSA. So I think all that's good stuff. I have a note here because I didn't want to move on before I asked. And I think it's really fun to just kind of, guess and throw some ideas and sling them against the wall and see what might work for the industry or the hobby. Mm-hmm. Do you have any ideas or solutions for what not just PSA can do, but the industry could do to get more capacity for grading so that we don't have to shut down, or these companies don't have to shut down anymore, any of their services?
Well, okay. So this is the way I look at it. And again, PSA's done incredible with, expanding the market. They literally are so busy they had to shut down. Nobody wants to shut down. Okay. They don't want to do that. They had to do it for the brand, for the clients. Okay. They're just getting too much stuff. I think though, when you say, picture this, you have a hobby store, you're an expert. Hey, Leighton, I'm going to make you an authorized heritage consignment place. Okay. And now 50 to 100 other store owners across the country, forget about 100. How many GameStops are there?
A lot.
Yeah. Hundreds, thousands. They take submissions for PSA at every GameStop. If we decided to do that at hobby stores, and even if they met our consignment minimum and they followed the rules, we would be inundated when every store in the country is sending us packages every week.
Sure.
So, hey, Mom, while you're picking me up my CVS prescription, can you stop at GameStop and drop off my PSA submission? Wait a second. Okay, they're already getting enough cards within the hobby. They've expanded it to now, you can drop off cards at GameStop. Oh, by the way, how many people do we know that now take in PSA submissions at shows? So around the country, you have Rosenblum of SMR Collectibles, right? He's taking in submissions for PSA. He does shows all the time. So everywhere around the country, you have PSA taking in submissions. Well, if you're going to make it where you can take submissions on every street corner, what's going to happen? You're going to get inundated. And you're not going to be able to scale up with experts. You might be able to find slabbers. You might be able to find data entry people. You might be able to find, but to find graders, it is almost impossible. Baker was asking me if I knew any graders. I was like, no, I'm trying to hire them for Heritage because we're inundated with cards. We have a big backlog. You know that. I've talked to you about that. Finding graders, again, a modern expert is one thing. Here's a Pokemon expert. Here's a modern expert. But when I show you what we get in, forget about the insert sets from the 50s and 60s, the top split in packs. Forget about that stuff. 19th century stuff, early 20th century stuff, strip cards, all the different issues, the one and done brands. You have been in this for a long time. You've seen just about everything. I feel like I have too. And once in a while, how do you find people that have that tribal knowledge? We're old now. You can admit it. We're finally old. We're old. We're not young anymore. I know I'm older than you, jerk. But anyway, I'm now, but to find people that even know what a Johnston cookie is, that Hank Aaron had a rookie card in there. Or,
oh my God, you're right.
It's lucky if they know exhibits, cons cards. Okay, so many things. There's still people that can't tell the Philly football sets apart. They don't get the years right.
It's so crazy. You're right. They don't know the year without turning it over.
Know the years. It's like, okay, this one has Butkus and Sayers. That's 66.
Okay? Yeah.
67.
Yellow one's easy. That's easy.
Yeah, yellow
right?
one's easy. 64 is, again.
Now you're only down to 2, right?
I know. Okay, but it's still, so again, try and hire people that can grade everything. So here's what happens when you hire people. Go send in some Topps coins or some Melodic coins, or go send in some esoteric issues and see what happens to you. Go send in some cons baseball and get the wrong grader, see what happens to you. 5s and 6s. They can be literally the best from the Rupp collection, from the factory. They're all 9s and 6s. Okay, because that person that picked them up, or a bazooka panel that's just dialed in, and because, well, look, the one thing when I ran a grading room, the one thing you can't do is overgrade. If you're going to overgrade, you ain't going to be there. Okay, undergrade, you can make the argument, this I'm not seeing a 7, I'm not seeing an 8, I'm not seeing a 9. Undergrading doesn't get you fired. Overgrading does.
That might be the line of the episode. I tell you, I like that.
So, but
I wish more people knew that, because that's why we see some of the things happening with grading that we do.
Newer graders. What do you think at Heritage? This should be easily spoken by anybody. It shouldn't be like, oh, it's a fine line of whether you can say it. At Heritage, do I want somebody to overgrade my sets so there's possible returns? It's good for the consigner to say the mantle in that set is going to be near mint or X mint when it's VGX. I don't want to do that. Okay. I don't want them to undergrade either, because that's bad for the consigner. I want them to get it right. It takes a long time to train graders. There's so many different anomalies with cards. Okay. But again, I'd rather them go conservative, as I have to trust more people to write more stuff. You'd rather them be conservative. Overgrading gets returns. Okay.
Oh my God. I remember working at Leland's over 20 years ago and writing up my first major auction that did over $1 million. I made Josh, rest in peace. And obviously we're both friends with Hef.
Yeah.
I was so stressed about writing it. And Josh comes in, he's like, why are you stressed? I'm like, Josh, you can't grade these cards.
No. But here's the thing. Bill couldn't either at Mastro. Bill couldn't grade. He thought he could grade but
it takes longer than you think. That was my point to the guys, was that in order to do it right, you have to, and obviously there was no AI back then. That's for sure.
Everything, if it either has a crease or it's X-Mint. Okay, it's got a crease and it's a VG. If it's not, it's better, it's X-Mint. Bill was the same. Bill thought everything was a 9 or a 10 if it was fresh. And it's like, dude, you have no idea what you're looking at. You just don't. And it's okay. You're a goat, like you guys are legends on the Mount Rushmore, but you don't know how to grade. It's okay, because you did in the 70s and 80s, but now there's grading standards.
Times have changed.
How about Al Rosen? Al Rosen was a nightmare. I went to a couple of his auctions where I went to view, and near mint to mint, like the best set you're ever going to find. Here's a 57 Bart Star with a whiteout painted corner. I'm like, Al, are you kidding? I mean, you can't debate him though. He'd tell you you're a piece of shit if you debate him, right? You're never welcome back. You can't.
Yeah, I think he made me nervous as a young kid. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
But then over time, situation changed. So may he rest in peace as well. But I want to bring this up about the grading. So seeing as how we both recognize what's happening, and it's clear that it is happening, meaning there's a problem, And we also recognize that there's a shortage of talent. I've talked about this before. I'm curious, one, do you think this is a good idea? And two, if it is a good idea, why is, whether it be PSA, Beckett, or for that matter, a third party, like even an education, like a university, not tackling this? To me, this is about training. So whether it be, it's about Derek Grady gets a new job on the side to, fund his crazy collection, right? Meaning, why are we not starting, we meaning the industry, why is PSA not leading the pack here to start, call it an 18-month, like a vocational school for grading?
Okay, so I don't know that they're not. I want to ask Nat that. I don't know that they don't have.
They have training. There's difference.
Okay, okay. Then
they have training, but what I'm saying is, follow my logic.
Okay.
I got a kid who's 25 years old. He comes in my office or our store here in Summit, New Jersey, and he says, "Hey, bud, I buy some cards from you. I've heard PSA, is looking for graders, but I don't know how to grade. Will PSA teach me how to grade?" And to a certain extent, they will. But if you don't know anything, they're not going to do that.
Correct.
So the point is, there are people, I'm telling you, out there that are struggling with employment in our country.
100%.
And if they knew that they could go to school for, I'm making this up, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months with someone like with the likes of you or other really talented, experienced graders or former graders, you graduate with a certificate, and then let's just say the graduating class is 100. You would then have competition from the likes of PSA, Beckett, CGC. I mean, Mike Baker's hiring. So my question is, before we get into anything else, do we think that this is viable as to a solution to this long-term problem and that we don't have enough graders?
I would say yes. The curriculum, it's almost like there would need to be, if the market leader is PSA and then they have the other two companies, to SGC and Beckett, that would need to be led by, Nat and his team at PSA to have PSA Grader U. And it's based on their standards since they are the gold standard. I think sometimes, no matter who it is, it could be me, it could be you, it could be Foreman, it can be anybody. Okay. People would start taking knocks. They don't know what they're doing. Whoever's training you there, I swear there's so much animosity or jealousy or, oh yeah, they're not teaching you anything. They don't know what they're doing. That's not our standard. Like, oh, that grader knows nothing. So the first guy that comes out of Derek and Leighton's university for grading, PSA doesn't even let them pass they fail the test.
They flunked him. Oh, Derek, my head would be like this.
I know. Like, that's what I mean. Like, what can you do? So, but I think there is something to be said 100%. I'm not that guy to build the curriculum. Joe Orlando's probably the guy, somebody that's
a great call there. I agree with you.
And he could build a curriculum, somebody like that. Maybe Reza can build the curriculum of what he wants to see. I don't know what I feel like the tribal knowledge and knowing the issues helps. If you don't know how an issue comes, post serial, different type, Peachy. There's going to be, okay, how about vending? I know PSA did it
different sizes of cards in vending. Yes. Totally.
I know I rejected cards out of vending at first back in like 1998 because I thought they were trimmed. How do they have 4 smooth edges? Wait a second. All these other cards have rough edges. Vending has smooth edges for, again, back in the 60s and 50s. And I was like, they must be trimmed. No, these are some of the best cards you can find. Just like when I see a Rose and Fine card, I know what a Rose and Fine card looks like. They're special. Okay, even the off-center ones, they're 100% special from that find. That's tribal knowledge. There's people coming in now that never heard of the Rosen find, never heard of the Paris, Tennessee find, never heard of the black, even the Black Swan find. Think about how many people have come in the last 4 years. Okay, we're coming back into this as Joe was president of PSA for how many years, right? Now he's at Heritage. You have all these now it's Nat. Before that, I mean, there's people that meet me and they say, "Oh, you graded at SGC? How long ago?" And I'm like, "Well, when it first opened, 1998 to 2003, and then again from 2008 to 2011. That was 15 years ago. Am I even, I'm still a grader. And then I do it every day. I grade hundreds of cards at least every day, if not thousands, for Heritage. And my team does. So I've never stopped. and I won't take it for granted because you learn new things, you see new things. There's people that alter cards. You got to be careful. There's people that bought cards in the 80s that they put their sets away in the 80s, and somebody might have trimmed a card and it comes in raw, and you have to catch that in the write-ups, which we identify cards are altered, trim, miscut in our write-ups that are raw, you know. But an OPG cut matters, and if you get the wrong grader, you can get killed on your order. So where do you, I think, yeah, there's several courses we could build out. I don't know which ones it's a curriculum. I totally agree with you. And there's a difference. And modern cards, I'm not one that can speak to being an expert. We've been selling more and more modern cards. Okay. I think the grading companies in general, like a card that looks perfect, right? Dead center. So the only thing that can be wrong with it is like a little surface ding. Okay. And it gets a 6. And then everybody's like raving, but again, it's still worth 250,000 because it's Michael Jordan and there's 5 of them or there's 8 of them. So it doesn't even matter if it gets a 6, right? And I'm looking at the card going, do you see what 6s look like on a 52 tops card? Okay. That would be like a 4 by this standard. Because if it has a little ding or a back corner, they go somehow from 9 to 6. I know there's a 7 and an 8 in there and an 8.5, but okay. I'm not an expert on, per se on all the modern issues. I've learned a hell of a lot over the last few years because you have to on that stuff. And we take in a lot of it now. The pack pull, all these different types of cards, right? It's shocking what the values are to me. I still can't believe what we could have bought 10 years ago that were sitting on everybody's tables, right? And I think this goes into something we were talking about earlier. We used to do all these shows where I think I told you, Sunday, you could roll a bowling ball down the alley and not hit anybody, not hurt anybody. We could be playing football on a Sunday at a Philly show, right? And
I definitely have done that. Yeah.
Yeah. And now the shows, people are trying to get in early. They're paying extra money to get in early. They're there up until the show ends, and then there's trade nights. Even when it's not a sponsored trade night, people just go have a trade night anyway, just like at the National.
Yeah, it's like an impromptu concert.
It is. And the amount, and I was talking, it was funny, I'll just bring up Rosenblum since we're both friends with him. He did more at trade night at one of the Dallas card shows the first night than he did at the show. Okay. So people are spending.
It goes to show you how the business has changed and evolved.
Yeah. You don't even have to get a table. You just wait out. You just wait in your, grab a little table at the hotel, pull it over, set up your wares, and everybody come, it's crazy. But so, and people say, well, how did we get here? With the shows, the hobby's always been here. I used to think we're going to be the cool kids at one point when I kept hearing, why can't sports be like Comic-Con? How is Comic-Con? You can't get tickets. It's sold out. It's crazy. Everybody goes to Comic-Con. I'm like, wait a second. Stadiums are sold out. Arenas are sold out. Everybody likes to sports bet, or most people sports bet to some degree, right? I don't bet that much, but I bet on the Super Bowl. Just a handful of things, right? People can't wait to go to events and tickets and pay a lot of money. But then when they see something in your office or my house or your house, they're like, that's really cool. How did you get that? And I'm like, you can get it easily. Well, how do I know it's real? And I tell them about PSA and authentication, PSA DNA, and here's a graded card. And they just weren't getting into it like they are now. Then you had COVID in the Michael Jordan movie, The Last Dance. Everybody watched it because you couldn't go anywhere. That created that spike, right? I really think then with, obviously COVID, then we had that boom and then it kind of slowed down. And then Fanatics has gone crazy, right? But they're producing not only and Pokemon's a separate entity, obviously, but Fanatics is producing tons of cards. They're in every, the hobby stores are exploding across the country. Tom Brady's opening stores everywhere. You just saw the investment that Cards HQ got. Okay. Mm-hmm. Burbank Sports Cards. I watch his videos. There were 200 people on a Saturday in his store. I've never seen anything like that in my life in a store. And people in line, waiting lines to sell them. Like 200 people in a card store on a random Saturday. Come on. The hobby is the hottest hobby in the world. I can't even, and now they're doing, F1 stuff, Disney stuff. The more women, more everybody are at card shows, right? It's a melting pot at card shows. And now a lot of these big name card shows. I mean, the Dallas card show is insane. Drellick's Philly show, where that used to be to where it is now.
It's like,
what a great job
I
he's
don't even
done.
10 times
the
the size.
National.
It's crazy.
It's 10 times the size. It's not even. I still haven't been in that one auxiliary room because we're too busy.
I know.
Like I don't have really. How many times do I come over and talk to you? How many times do you come over and talk to me? We see each other once.
I know, it's really wild. It's very busy.
We see maybe we don't like each other. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe
Philly's
it's just
become
busy,
like
right?
this mini national. Really.
Oh, and so is the Dallas Card Show, and so has some of these other major trade shows. But the National is going to be completely insane. I heard, Fanatics Fest. I haven't gone yet, but again, we'll be there this year as Heritage, and I will go. But it's supposedly off the charts. It's
a good time. A lot of entertainment.
Yeah. And that's so great. And I'm glad that Ruben's gotten involved and pushed this business, this hobby, and that other athletes, celebrities, friends, whoever it is, the WWE stuff, every part of it, people were having fun. And do you remember when people back before, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever it was, they lost money on stuff and they got annoyed at the hobby? I feel like there's still people buying stuff, losing money, but they're not blaming the hobby this time. They're blaming themselves by not choosing those people. Or when they buy a box for $600 and they get nothing out of it, they don't blame the hobby. They just go buy another box. They realize, or if they don't get the grades they want, they're still filling out another submission form. Nobody's going anywhere. And
it seems much stickier than ever.
And even in autographs, when this fraud bust happens, I said to somebody, do you really think people that collect autographs are going to stop collecting autographs? Catching fraud's a good thing, right? They busted a bad guy. That's good. Why would I stop collecting now? I'd rather collect now. They busted
some bad stuff's off the street.
And I was around when there was no grading companies, and the game used jerseys and the autographs were not vetted by anybody. It was just kind of like, oh, yeah. You have some pseudo autograph experts, right? And people would ask Jimmy before Jimmy Spence became Jimmy Spence, right? Oh, that guy over there that sells, framed up pieces and stuff. He's really good at autographs. So I would run stuff by him. And with cards, I always thought I knew how to grade. Again, I probably did to some degree, but the cards I put away that I thought I was buying that were near mint to mint, they're like 6s or 7s. But that's another day.
Even guys like you and I, when we're in the know, it takes time. That's the point.
I was buying pack fresh cards. I love cards that were rough cut, pack fresh. But I didn't, as long as it was decently centered, I was okay. Had I bought the dead centered cards, I'd be sitting on a fortune. But I bought cards that were still nice, but not nice enough. But I did catch the pressed out creases that people would do and all that kind of stuff. But, again, there's a lot to learn. You can't learn it overnight. I'm 55 and I'm still learning. You're like, 60, right? And you're
we're definitely still learning. And speaking of learning, so if someone's going to the National and, they want to sell cards, there's going to be lots of dealers, right? Like myself included at Just Collect that will be buying cards. But if someone wants to set up an appointment with you, Derek, and they like to pick your brain with some of their graded collection, maybe they have a set or two, and they may not even sell, but they want an expert's opinion from Heritage who's been doing this a long time. How does someone arrange a meeting with you? Let's say if they're going to the National or the Philly show, what's the best way for someone to get in touch with you?
Just go to ha.com on our website and go to sports. My email, derekg@ha.com. My number's on there. Should I even give it out? I don't want to really give my cell phone out.
Probably your email. I'd give out the email on
derekg@ha.com.
That sounds good.
But I'm on the website, easily accessible. If it's not something I can help them with, I've got memorabilia guys for jerseys, we have private sale guys, we have everything. We have plenty of experts here at Heritage, and somebody that knows tickets better than me, somebody that's going to know autographs better than me. And I put them in the right direction, point them in the right directions. We have auctions all the time. We have the high-end Platinum Night auction, to our regular catalog auctions, to our showcase auctions. Our weekly auctions are now doing $250,000 a week.
Wow.
We're putting, the market is unbelievable. The biggest question is, will it cool off? I have not seen that. If I was PSA, I would have logically thought at some point it's going to slow down a little bit. Still be great. It can still be great when it slows down, by the way. This is just complete insanity that they literally have to shut it down, right? We all thought there'd be, okay, it can be just normal for a little bit. This hobby is going, I don't know much about braking. You do braking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any slowdown?
Changes I've seen.
Okay.
But no, the Fanatics products that they're producing under Tops are incredible. And, you see these regular 5 and 6 figure cards that are being pulled.
Mm-hmm.
So the market is very robust there. Things are happening very quickly, in the hobby. And although the news is disappointing, I don't know that I can get Nat on a show with all that's going on in the space right now. He was kind enough to come on a previous episode of Trading Card Therapy. But I do think there's a lot of validity, and I would like to, just for the sake, right? You and I care very much about the hobby. It's not only how we make our living. We have dear friends. We have dear friends that are in this space and will be so along our side probably till the day we leave the earth. And so we know that what's best for the hobby is also good for us. I would love to welcome a conversation with Nat or from someone at PSA if they, and I'm not the guy for this, believe me, but I think they should be embracing some sort of curriculum and developing it so that even in year 1, right, you only have 77 students. By year 10, you might have 1,000. And right now, the way the industry is going, we need to have reservists on the bench who can be grading. Because right now, if we did, we'd call them all in, Derek.
100%. And also, you have 3 large grading companies. PSA, obviously, by far. But then you also have SGC and you have Beckett. Trying to get all those people on the same page, flunking out the ones that aren't any good, moving to the ones at the top that are. And I don't know that they're not doing that. It may just not be public because, they're here to serve the hobby, but I don't think they want everybody to know their business either. There's other competitors that are vying.
I agree. I've heard they'd have training programs, meaning like if you get the job, they will train you. But that's not what we're talking about. What I'm saying is this is a new skill needed in our country. And honestly, it's hard for me to even keep a straight face saying this because, Derek, you and I have been around so long.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't get a job working for someone in baseball cards 30 years ago. It didn't exist. So to fast forward, what I do believe is that this would serve the hobby well. And because Collectors Universe not only owns PSA, but they now own SGC and Beckett.
Yeah.
To me, this makes the most logical sense of everything I've heard. And once again, I agree with you. I think they're training internally, but I don't think there's a school that you can apply to as a 27-year-old or as a 57-year-old and say, you know what? I don't know a lot about cards. My job right now, I'm capped at $35,000 a year. I've heard you can make, I'm making this up, 6 figures in grading. I would like to explore this just like computer skills. Just like, I learn about an HVAC system, whatever the case is. I believe we reached that point, and whether it be it's Nat or other folks from the organizations, meaning the grading companies, I think it's time that someone recognized that this is a need that won't go away. Yeah. And that when you're in business, think about it from an entrepreneur standpoint. Look at the people involved at PSA. Can you imagine you're Nat Turner having to call Steve Phillips? Hey, Steve. Yeah, man, we are just getting crushed. Dude, the Mets are losing. No, I didn't call about the Mets today, buddy. We are just getting crushed so much that, even though our wildest dreams are being fulfilled in terms of business, we actually have to shut down again. I can't imagine that as an entrepreneur to shut down, other than if the government made you, i.e. COVID. So wild, wild times, Derek. I really am so grateful for you joining us today. And I wanted to give a special shout out to, I know, a show that we both love and dear friends of both of us, both Tom Zappola and Rico Petroselli from the Great American Collectibles Show. Shout out to them. I'm collaborating on a book with them, and then Joe Orlando's helping out with it as well.
I heard you were in on that, and I was like,
it's about the greatest finds ever made in cards and sports collectibles, and it's going to come out at some point shortly before next year's National, and it's going to be fantastic. I've been doing some of the proofreading with the gang. Good. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And I think, again, back to required reading, that's your cheat sheet for those of you that have just gotten into the hobby. This is going to cover the most significant, there's not a significant find that's not in this book, right? Every significant find, and then some that I'll even learn about This is like required this is the tribal knowledge Leighton and I have for being old and being in the business for 30 years, right? Or longer. Jesus.
Yeah, longer
I
in
keep
some
forgetting the
cases.
date. Yeah, way longer. It's stupid. I just forget the year. I don't want to think about it actually. But this is, again, that's how you, knowledge is everything. And also you want to be in this business. You want to have a job in this business. Can you imagine somebody at Heritage, if we hired somebody and they're at the booth and they didn't know what the Rosen find was?
I would be ill. I would actually be like,
okay.
I would be ill.
Well, that can happen because when you're hiring a 30-year-old, they don't know what some of this stuff is, or some of these. I don't expect them to know everything, but I don't want them to think a bazooka panel's fake just because they've never seen a bazooka panel before. Or I just keep looking at this one bazooka panel I have over here with Mickey Mantle on it that's up for auction. That's why I keep bringing up bazooka. I don't have an infatuation with bazooka. They're a pain in the ass to grade, but either way, yeah. But no, honestly, that's one of those required reading books, I think. It would be enjoyable too. There's a lot. I like reading about the Southern Find in T206, or the
there's going to be some stuff, as you said, that you and I didn't even necessarily know about. Really excited and proud to be part of the project. So look for that, at some point early next year. Once again, Derek, thank you so much for joining us today. And if you wanted to reach out to Derek, you can do so at derekg@ha.com. Look for him and I both to be at the National. I'm not sure how you'll find us, as there'll be literally over 100,000 people there.
Well, the Heritage booth is pretty big. We pretty much
it's kind of big. It's kind of big.
You'll find us at the Heritage booth. It's like a museum showcases everywhere. But yeah, and at the Philly show, you'll see us, and right.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to give one more shout out to Lee and Chris and Joe and all the guys I've been friends with for years at Heritage. Really great group of people. Some of them very special friends of mine, yourself included. So thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you real soon.
Sounds good, man. Have fun in the hobby, everybody.
All right, guys, that was Trading Card Therapy episode number 122. If you enjoy hobby content like this, I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Just Collect. You can look for all of our episodes, Trading Card Therapy, that are separated. Or if you prefer listening to our episodes, you can do so on Apple and Spotify. We'll see you real soon.